And welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Smooth Talk. Today I have the man, the myth, the legend himself, Mr. Brandon Furr. You are back. I'm so happy to have you here. This time I did see you brought notes. Everybody really seemed to like our last episode, so I'm tickled to have you back, and I'm ready to discuss. So, first off, how you been?
I'm good, brother.
Good.
I'm good. You know, getting along. Boy, it's been hot past couple weeks, hasn't it?
Oh, the last.
We finally got a break this week, so
Yeah. Well, we'll be in the clear in about October and for Missouri probably. What do you want to talk about today, brother?
and I think we need to talk about these fires everywhere. And
Did I say hot topic of discussion?
you know, it's scary to see what happened. I don't even know where to go, but it was so insane to see the social medias like TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and this crazy conspiracy was being thrown around that there may have been the use of a DEW, direct energy weapon. And there's some odd things that kind of actually back that up. One being that those are real.
Oh, I believe that.
DEWs do exist. I mean, let's see.
Well, while you're doing that, I'll say this for people that don't know this, okay? So in the military, being prior service, we have a red laser, we have a green laser, we have RFI. You can't see it, unless you have special lenses. That being said, with the red laser, just because people, I don't think they understand like how powerful a laser actually is. So a red laser, you're in the safe zone. A green laser will mark farther out targets typically. And we used to play a little game. We'd say, put your hand up, see how long you can hold your hand with that laser pointing.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's going to make it a minute. Okay, that's just a handheld marking laser.
I don't think I've ever tried it.
Yeah, it's it's pretty ridiculous because it'll literally burn your flesh. So just in that aspect, to think that there isn't bigger, more powerful things out there, that's where people, if they want to doubt this, that's the first mistake.
Well, it says here they were deployed in January 9th, 2020.
Mm-hmm.
That's when the Navy and stuff put them into operation. They're there, right? How dark is it that the common consensus after this went down, that's what everybody went to? What kind of distrust does it take in your world, in your governments, in your military, for people to think this way?
Let me ask you this, okay? And I'm going to play devil's advocate on this. Do you fully believe, because I know what the signs, here's the thing. I believe, yes, it was the lasers that did it. That's my belief. But the real question is, do you believe it was actually our government, or do you think that it was possibly another government, and the only and it was a strategic mark to get us riled up again? That would be my question.
Well, I don't think we have a government.
Yeah.
So, I don't think we have a government that's actually for us. And this is just me being a doomsday. I was talking to Brian today when I went to the gym,
Mm-hmm.
and he was asking me about the lasers. And he knows that anytime we bring up any type of conspiracy, I'm like bottom of the rabbit hole type of stuff, And he brought that up. He's like, he put it as like, you're so quick to jump to like 4 steps down the rabbit hole instead of looking at the first step. the one that might make a little bit more sense to a person that's not naive to the actions of their government, to the actions of the evil in the world, right? That's why I tend to go ahead a few more steps on things and just automatically jump to that area because I've seen the narratives pushed and I've seen the games played. And when I've been naive and called it normal or just stayed right there at the surface of it, I've been proved wrong. You know, and I don't know about you, but I don't want to be that person that's stuck somewhere and, you know, something goes down really crazy and you're just so naive that you couldn't possibly think that there's evil around so you don't remove yourself from it.
Well, you can't properly analyze your situation. If you can't look at it from all types of possibilities, you're not properly analyzing it. You're being closed-minded and you're looking through one lens. But the reason I asked that, you know, one of those videos I saw, and disturbing enough, was the blue factor.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we mean by the blue factor is that when these lasers go through certain areas, everything's burnt to a crisp. But if it was blue, it somehow mitigated what the sensor would pick up, so it would burn everything around it. So it's a controlled burn. Now, the reason I said, like, what do you think if you think this was an outside source? Now, where I led from that was we said that the blue roof in China. We've seen this. So blue roofs are popping up.
Really, really popular over there.
Becoming a real thing over there. And a lot of people believe that's part of the reason why. One of the things is, I think, what we think is bad and what is bad sometimes for the common person may not be what they believe. And like I said, I think possibly, this is my take, I think possibly it was another country that did it. Now, I think that we're aware of it and we're going to allow it, but I think they're trying to make us go towards that civil war. They're pushing us in that direction. And they know that we already have so much disdain right now over the last 3 years for government in general that it's how many more events can occur. Now, when I say another place, hey, I could very well be wrong because some of the other evidence does definitely show that it could be internally done from planes setting stuff up. I don't like to think that way. And last, it could be, you know, the Build-A-Berry, whatever group, you know, that have been trying to do this stuff for years and years and years.
Okay, well, here's some stuff we know, and this is what kind of points me away from it being another country. And it shows involvement in just the local government there. Mm-hmm. The police chief or police commander or whatever was the same guy in Las Vegas during that shooting. He was the commander, and then I think he's the chief down there now, right? Well, he's also the coroner.
That makes sense. Yeah.
They're putting up these supposedly smoke screens around the area where all these burns have happened. People weren't allowed to go in after their kids. When this was actively going on, there was parents stopped at blockades by police there that were ordered not to let people back in to get their kids. Their kids got out of school or something like that. The parents went and picked them up and took them home. The water was shut off. Fires were started. Parents were kept out. What would make a person not go to total disbelief in everything else they're being told when those three things happen? That's enough to make a most normal, unaware person ever question what the hell is going on. So if it was an outside source, it was a country, it was an act of war, I don't know, because they would have to literally infiltrate that local government there as well, because there was definitely some, maybe they just didn't do what they should have done because they were so freaked out by this supposedly fire hurricane. but there was a lot of things that weren't done that could have been done. There was a lot of parents that maybe could have went and saved their children.
Mm-hmm.
That fact alone right there, you're stopping me from going and saving my child. I'm fucking running you over.
Yeah, sometimes too. I do think. Now, again, I might be playing devil's advocate. Understand? It doesn't mean I agree with myself when I'm saying some of this. Okay, I know it's goofy, but it's the way that it has to be. If you don't have somebody, if you don't have somebody opposing, I think if somebody listens, and if they're listening and they have to, well, that doesn't make sense. Well, if somebody speaks for their behalf, it makes a better conversation.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I would say, caveat to that, I would say is if you knew there was an inevitable, now this doesn't just mean in Hawaii, but if you knew there was an inevitable force about to happen, attack a company, and you could not stop it as a government. Well, if you weren't going to go into a massive war, you have to treat it like an environmental disaster.
Yeah.
And that's what you have to do. You have to tell you just tell everybody, you go, hey, go down there, block it off, do that.
Well,
and I here's the thing. I don't believe any of that's true in the case of what we're talking about. Mm-hmm. I'm playing the advocate this time around. But block it off, tell them it's not that, and then we won't even act like it's actually a terrorist attack, because if you have a terrorist attack, what happens? Well,
people are freak out. There's going to be war.
There's going to be war.
Right. I mean, if it was an outside attack, period, that's that's a direct act of war right there.
Yeah.
So, but don't you want to believe more that it was a country attacking us versus our own internal governments killing their own people?
Of course you would.
Of course we would want that.
You'd want that. Doesn't mean it's right.
We don't want that, but we want that over what the other thing is that we're talking about. So,
well, you wouldn't like to believe in internal tyranny. You'd like to believe that things are that. Look, it's not any. This is the goofy part of the word treason in the First Amendment. If you don't agree with the government, it's not treason. It's not treason to speak your mind and be vocal about it. Okay, if that was the case, we would be in China. We would be living there. So we do have the right to speak up, and the problem is people don't want to speak up, and they start to get scared about what they say, and they're not getting arrested, but they are getting monetized, and that's part of the other issue. It's okay for people to have an opinion, and most of these people that they monetize, their opinions, they factually back them up. I've said it many times that there's always a false truth somewhere. Because if you tell me this is true and you tell me this is true, but they both can't exist, which one's the lie?
I get it. But there is another idea that I've had on what's really going on with our country, with the world right now.
Yeah.
Mainly our country. And it's off of something I heard early in 2020. Things were really heating up with all the Q stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There was all kinds of coincidences and stuff like that. I never got involved really hard in that. I don't know how they decode all their shit, where they get their stuff from. Yeah. It's just really interesting to see them put their stuff together. But listen, hear me out. I had come across the video on, I think it was BitChute, and I was going down rabbit holes at like 2 a.m., freaking out like we're all going to die in the next week, Shit was scary back then. So I went down this one rabbit hole, and I got onto this video, and it was a guy talking about our country had been in debt to China so deep and so long that they were getting ready to invade. And this was when Trump was in a year or two, and he found this out. They were keeping it from him. Okay? This is just
Yeah, nope.
Conspiracy theory, crazy, it's not true, whatever. But this is what this guy had come up with, and of course he had inside sources and knew, whatever. But it's a cool theory that he has, and I'm getting to the point. But he said we were in such big debt to China for so long, and we were not able to pay it back. We were just taking money from them, and not, the Chinese were acting like the little kid at lunch. You just steal his lunch, and you're never going to pay him back. That's that's kind of what we were doing to them. Well, they had built such a strong army that they were going to come in and invade. And they said, but you know what? Give us your country for 10 years. Let us run operations. Let us run experiments. Let us control your food. Let us control your water. Let us control your politicians. Let us run this experiment on the United States of America. We're going straight communism at fucking light speed.
Mm-hmm.
You let us do this, and your country survives. You win. 10 years, your debt is fully paid. No more wars, no more fucking competing, But you owe us this. And it was signed over. That deal was signed. That's what this guy is saying. Everything you're seeing play out is completely controlled, completely set up. A to fucking B. There is no unknown. Everything is planned. When you hear something like that, and you hear it put like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
There are things that have happened, you're like, well, holy fuck, that could be true, Not that it is true, not that I think it's true, but there's more than one coincidence where you could be like, that would never happen unless that was true.
Well, we start with, this is me, farmland. Okay. It's like, or most natural disasters that have been going on that aren't natural over and over and over. I mean, we have oil spills, we have food places going up in smoke. It's like, and the funny thing is everybody can agree. It's like, oh, you have 15 manufacturers go down in the span of a year. How many coincidences do you need before you start saying, oh, maybe there's more to this that I'm not seeing? And the worst part is, again, people, they don't want to speak up. They're scared that something's going to happen to them. But I think that we're, again, united we stand. So we have, and the worst part is that we have to also remember the government works for us. That's the part that everybody forgets. We think that we're government owned. That's not the case. Again,
we are owned. Our birth certificates are our fucking serial number.
But we look at that too, and we go, again, why is it treason? Why all of a sudden is when you have a group of people that want to challenge what is going on, that it's considered a treasonable act. It's not treason. It's just the way things are. It's because that mass group of people, you wouldn't have a mass. And I'm not talking, a couple thousand or stuff like that. I'm talking, you wouldn't have a mass group of people, millions, feeling the way they do if something wasn't messed up.
Yeah.
I did want to say on the conspiracy side, though, so do you know what Cicada 3301 is?
I don't think I do.
Okay, so Cicada 3301 was essentially a group of people, unknown, from around the world that recruited high intelligent hackers. Okay, they did this they started this project years ago, and once a year for I think it was about 3 years, they would put out basically a puzzle box, and it would generally take a couple months, sometimes, for everything to align, and they would follow the people. I mean, there's no way to fake their stuff. They had people that were trying to fake it, but they had keys and locks to make sure that it's like if you got the next step of the puzzle that they laid out, that you could advance. If you helped anybody and they knew it, automatically scratched. You're gone. They knew. That being said, the funniest thing about that, when you mentioned the Q-Force, it makes me wonder. It's like, 'cause they only took, I think it was 2 to 3 people starting off.
Yeah.
And it was very, 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 very select. And you had to be on top of your game to figure some of their stuff out. That being said, makes me wonder. It's like when some of this information gets leaked, I can only imagine the group of people, because the idea behind them, because they finally did identify themselves as a group that were for basically conservative.
Well, and what is Space Force?
You got me.
Okay, like there are so many crazy rabbit hole conspiracy theories around what that actually is and what they're capable of and what they do. And supposedly, their capabilities and their toys are just out of this world. And that's supposedly part of our own military. There's private guys that don't want any part of that are just as good at what they do, and they're doing it at home on a shitty laptop. There are millions of people out there that are capable of getting into places and doing things that could really, really help humanity a lot. And it's so weird to me that more of them haven't stepped up.
Yeah, fear.
I mean,
that's what it is, man.
But how far does your country have to go in the shitter before you can log into somebody's fucking Gmail and start finding emails that they don't want nobody to see? And you know what? You don't blackmail them. You just post them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm with you. I think the issue is a selfless sacrifice.
Nobody wants to do it.
So
nobody wants to even talk about things that could potentially get them looked at as a little bit crazy, or...
Well, I think of it like this, okay? Selfless sacrifice. In the military, they want to make it more heroic than it may be. Grenade gets thrown down. We all seen that Captain America, but sadly, it's not like that's never happened. Grenade gets thrown down. What's he do? He jumps on the grenade. Why? So that his fellow man will be okay.
Right.
In today's world, let's take it to an extremist point. If you're in a school and somebody comes in with a gun and they're lined up and something starts happening, 1, 2, why doesn't somebody try to stop them? Pure fear. Pure fear.
Yeah, that.
I mean, and here's the thing. It's a horrible way to think, but this is the reality of it. Okay, this is the deep reality of it. Is it takes one person to stand up, knowing the same situation with that grenade, what's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if they afford the opportunity to everybody else, what happens? Usually, the situation can figure itself out. It takes one person of courage to change the way.
But listen, I think hacking would be a little bit safer than, let's say, jumping on a grenade.
And I agree.
And if it was something that's going to take down someone that needs to be taken down, I think the support for you is going to be so big. If you go public with it and you post it everywhere you can, you get your face attached to it, your name attached to it. If they do take your ass out, they're not going to do it without a million people behind you going, what the hell happened? And that leads me into Isaac Cappy.
Okay. Tell us about him.
So, I'm guessing you've probably heard of him, right?
I've heard some, yeah. I don't know the whole full deets, but I'm all about learning too. So.
Anybody right now that's listening and hasn't heard that name, and you think I'm saying crazy stuff, okay? This is probably what got me started on the whole my world is not real type of shit, okay?
Yeah, so he made YouTube videos, didn't he?
He made, yeah,
I remember.
And then like shorts, and then he would go live.
Yeah, I remember. And, yes, I know who you're talking about.
So he was like this lower level Hollywood actor.
Mm-hmm.
And he was friends with all of the Hollywood fucking debauchery, right? Seth Green, one of his good friends that he had known for a while, been to his house a lot, was over at his house one night after they kind of got a little bit more acquainted, a little bit more comfortable around each other. And Seth looks at him and he goes, "We need to have a conversation about chicken." I don't know if you're into all the code words of the satanic pedophiles. Chicken is kid, right? Cappy was like, "Oh, chicken, okay, what about this chicken?" And he gets up, and this is what Cappy said in one of his videos out of his mouth. He gets up and pulls this cabinet door open or whatever. And he goes, "This is where we keep the children." And he said it was a secret room in this dude's house that had toys and shit in it, and it was fucking creepy, he said. And he goes, basically after that, I realized this dude's a fucking pedophile. His wife, Seth Green, is married to, I think she's a Vanderbilt. Okay. I could be wrong. I'm probably going to get shit for that, but
that's okay.
She is in a family that is worth fucking billions and has ties in Hollywood. They're just fucking evil people. They're evil, child raping motherfuckers. And you're like, that is one thing I will say. Put my fucking foot down. Prove me wrong. Prove me, like, on this right here.
Well, unfortunately, knowing what you're talking about, especially with Hollywood and the what was that? Was it Cosmic Pizza? Or I might be thinking Toy Story, but you know what I'm talking about.
Ping Pong.
Comic Ping Pong, yeah.
In, what was it, Washington, D.C., where all the Washington, D.C. weirdos hung out?
Yep. And there was one in California. It was similar.
Yeah, it was no, it's in Oregon, I think, and it's like a donut shop or something like that. Yeah, there's fucking creepy pedo shit. And there's been all kinds of little symbols on their foods and stuff.
Exactly, yeah. And
there was a couple of videos that were supposedly of Comet Ping Pong. And people can just go look that up. I don't think there's a reason we need to really talk about that. The Isaac Cappy, I want to keep going.
The one thing I'll tell you, if they want to look that up, is I heard this, and it's very true. Out of everything we just said there, okay, they're from Q, and one thing I took away from some of the other Fall of Cabal videos, symbolism will be their downfall.
Yes, it's in everything.
It's in everything they do. So when if you think that some stuff that you hear is absolutely crazy, when they're showing you stuff, pay close attention to what is being shown. They can't help it. They show it over and over and over.
Go to Google and type in FBI pedophile symbols. Okay? There's like 3 or 4 of them that are in every children's Disney movie. Moana, they're all over it. Lilo and Stitch, all over it. Monsters, Inc., all over it. That movie is about stealing kids' energy, stealing kids' lifeblood. Their scream. Do you know what happens when a child screams in fucking pain and death? Adrenochrome.
Yep.
And they harvest that shit. But anyways, back to Isaac Cappy, because if you go look up Isaac Cappy, watch his videos. They might be a little bit hard to find now. Run down all of his videos, watch every single one you can find. And most of them are going to be clips now. And he goes over and he gives you fucking names, dude. He gives you stories, experiences, and their names. This dude got a hard drive. I don't know how he got this fucking hard drive. I'm sorry, not a hard drive. A zip drive. That had proof that George Bush was trafficking children. Actors in Hollywood trafficking children. Singers. Very, very fucking high-profile people. This guy goes on Facebook Live, calls the FBI, sets on hold for like 30 minutes or whatever. A lady finally answers. He says, "I've got proof. George Bush Sr., such and such, a couple other names. He's got proof that they're trafficking children, along with drugs. It's all on this fucking zip drive." They acted like it was no big deal. The dude's crying. He's fucking freaking out. He's like, I don't know what to do. Right? He starts listing off names. Tom Hanks, fucking, just name after name. He's like, pedophile, pedophile, pedophile. They were all on that fucking zip drive. This dude, he makes a handful of videos. He gets thrown off of a bridge not too long after he's making these videos and outing these people. Dead. Supposedly committed suicide. If you had been doing these videos and you tell people, I'm not suicidal, I'm not going to kill myself, and then you end up dead,
There's some issues.
man,
Makes you wonder.
right? And he kept saying, because people were in his lives in the comments saying, prove it. And he's like, fucking prove me wrong. Take me to court. Give me fucking discovery. He goes, take me to court. I have proof. I will fucking, testify all that shit. He never got to. They killed his ass.
His biggest mistake was not just exposing it.
He sent the fucking zip drive electronically, and it got intercepted.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, he should have just, like you said, live streamed it as it went.
Yeah.
Should have just shown it. And here's the thing, yeah. Oh, it's not that anybody actually wants to see, but it's one of those where if I have something, I'm like, here, look at it. Look,
Right.
I'm not lying. Look at this as you're going through it. Don't disclose your location until you've actually shown it all on TV and been like, now you get it? It's like, now, I know this is horrific. I know I have to go to jail and this has to be confiscated because you all have seen it now.
Yeah.
But pay attention. Go over it. And instead of doing that, that's where his mistake was at. He should have just full-on showed it and went from there.
Well, people say he did that on purpose to be able to fake his death. Some people say he's not dead because there's been a couple of videos that come out after his death, and it's talking about Trump and Mar-a-Lago. He made these fucking videos before Trump was ever even running. These are older videos from like 13, 10, and I think 8 and 9, around in there. So he's talking about stuff in in a couple of these latest videos that have kind of just popped up out of nowhere. He's talking about current events. So, something's a little bit freaky there, and we can get into timelines and all that other shit too. But yeah, Isaac Cappy, if you think we're crazy, start there. It's going to pull you down into a hole that you probably didn't want to go to, but everybody needs to. Everybody needs to wake up.
Well, I think the other one, I watched a 10-episode series a while back called the Fall of Cabal. I'm sure you've seen it.
I didn't have to see it, brother.
Well, yeah, but
yeah.
Yeah, it's one of those where, I mean, I don't think they realize how bad and what these people in satanic cults, and it's like they don't have morals. They don't have, it's like what they do is horrible. And a lot of it is they believe that if you sacrifice the young, that is the greatest thing that you can do for yourself.
That is the biggest slight they can do against God. That is the reason they go for children. Children are pure. They're in His image. It is the closest thing they can get to God. Especially like little bitty babies. When they sacrifice these babies, a lot of these satanic cults, you could call them, there's fucking community, dude. And they're so good at being sneaky because they're so normal. They're the most fucking two-faced people you will ever be around in your life. They're just fucking scum, man.
Yeah.
And they operate on this. It's like they don't see you as you see them. You know what I mean? If you're not on their level, if you don't believe what they believe, you don't exist. You don't need to exist. We can coexist. You can be a Satan worshiper, bro. No fucking killing people.
Yeah. Isn't that that would be the cardinal rule? But there's so many documents. I mean, who was the guy that was on Oprah? Do you remember that?
I remember a couple of them.
There was that one guy, and he was talking about all the deaths and how they laid the body with like the same way as the tarot card, and just it was all planned. I think it had a lot to do with Manson, and he was like, I was in this. This was in the 90s. He was like, I was in the cult. He's like, I did this. I participated. And they're like, oh, you have? And he's literally confessing being a part of this stuff,
Yeah.
trying to stop it, probably helping, probably, and again, that when we talk about symbolism, this is the funny part about that. They like to throw it in your face. That's what I'm saying when you pay attention to stuff.
That's how they get their they're so fucked. They get their permission by showing you what they're going to do and telling you what they're going to do, but it's not directly. See, they don't have to directly tell you. They don't have to directly. It can be the smallest little fucking symbol, and that's enough to them that they're comfortable with doing that to you, doing that to humanity. You know what I mean? It's so insane how they operate. And there was an early Oprah episode, and man, I think it was early 90s, late 80s. It was early Oprah, before Oprah got corrupted and sucked into all of it. That's another one I'll fight you to the death on, too. But there was this woman that she had on there, and she was in a Jewish family. Okay. And she talks about them breeding babies. One of the females would get pregnant. They would leave the community and have the child. So nobody knew she was pregnant. They didn't have birth, like they weren't registering these kids. They were having these kids at home to sacrifice them. She said firsthand, she sacrificed, she killed, she watched it. She watched them be bred. She was bred. She was raped repeatedly. And this is all under the Jewish faith. Now, I know this isn't the whole Jewish faith, but there are sects.
Well, that's the same for, like, in Rome. There's literally in the churches, they have demonic symbols all over it.
Children sucking penises.
Yeah, and it's one of those where what people have to understand is things don't die as easy as people want to believe.
Yeah.
People go, what in Rome? Maybe remember who.
Go to the Vatican.
Maybe remember who crucified Jesus in those areas. After he came back and stuff and everything, it's like people didn't forget. There was still bad here, and it's like, like anything else. I think what people also forget is if you're so against something, right? If I absolutely hate something, and it's in a powerful situation, you have to start really using a tactical mind. How do I win this battle from the inside? That's always how it works. If you beat something, you beat it from the inside. So what's the quickest way if you're a satanic worshiper?
You take over a religion.
Oh, hey, there you go.
Take over a culture.
And it's not to say that,
you conquer fucking land with it.
It's not to say that like you said, if we talk about this situation, we're not saying, all the Catholics are bad. I know great Catholic people, great Catholic churches. I know that. But I'm talking they're at the higher situations where the power lies for the churches themselves. Well, that's where they're at now. It took time, patience, and attacking from the inside.
Oh, they did it over hundreds of years.
Hundreds of years. That's what
this has been a plan for years. Yeah. And okay, if you're Satan and you get control of this world, and there is a building that houses all the knowledge, all the wealth, all the worship, wouldn't you want to be in control of that building? And the people in it? And the people that control decisions of the world and that wealth and that knowledge? If you were Satan, wouldn't you want to have that?
I'd say
go walk around that fucking Vatican and tell me it's anything but fucking evil. If you can walk around that and be like, oh my God, this is so peaceful and pretty. Oh, just look at that architecture. Look at that little boy sucking on that man's penis.
But that's what I'm saying.
It's so fucked, dude, and nobody calls it out. Nobody says anything. Nobody notices it. It is insane to me. And it's in all religions now. Everything has been fucking corrupted by it, and it's happened so slowly, and it's happened so gently that people don't even realize it.
Well, think of it like I was telling Taylor some of this stuff, and a lot of it was just like when we got on the idea, or when we started going to church, right? Start going to church, and you know how I feel, and it's one of those where it's like I think there's moral principles. I think there's a lot of good things in there. That being said, one of the quickest things that changed over the years, it's that they use yourself against you and the way you think against you if they're going to run it. So one of those things was they made it where if you said, "Oh, you go to church, you don't have to go to church to be religious." Okay? When that statement originally I heard that, I started thinking to myself, I'm like, okay, yeah, that made a lot of sense. So for years, whenever I didn't go to church, I felt the same way as far as like, you don't have to, but I got super defensive. Even if my life went down a bad path, I'd get more and more defensive with just that one statement. You don't have to go to church spirits. You don't have to. You don't have to. And what it is it's an excuse. Now, it is a true statement. I'm not saying that it's not. But how many of those little statements can I give somebody if I'm opposed to it? Can I sit out there and give them a free excuse and make it easier for them to fall away from what they truly need? Again, moral. I'm not saying that you need to be religious.
It is so easy to mentally manipulate somebody
And that's
who
what I'm getting
doesn't
at.
know which direction to go.
Mm-hmm.
Think about being like a fitness coach. You can keep somebody fat if they don't know what they're doing.
Easily.
You can put weight on somebody and make them think that that's what they're supposed to do if they don't know which direction to go. So this isn't a shot at people who are super religious and they just live in a church. Some of those are the most happy people you will ever be around.
Mm-hmm.
The most positive, the most loving, the most caring, the most giving people you will ever be around. But there's a trait that goes with that as well. Most times, being a little bit naive.
I agree.
And being a little bit ignorant to the evil of the world, to the evil and the actions of people now. Oh, that it is so scary to me that there are innocent people out there still that can be just fucking preyed on, dude.
Well, what you're saying, and this comes for today's world, is it's not just really being naive. What it really is being is you found a safe haven. You found a place of peace. When I go to church, that's how I feel. I feel like I get an hour of peace in my life. And you go, man, I want this, I want to keep this. And what happens? You don't really think about everything that's coming in on those walls because you're too busy trying to enjoy what you have. But the truth is, it's the old saying, parabellum. If you want peace, you have to always be ready for war. Now, who starts that war? Evil people. Okay, we don't need war, period. But there's always an antagonist to make it happen. People in my opinion, in the church communities aren't doing exactly what I'm doing. They're not standing up and talking about, hey, it is good to go to church. It is good to participate in your community. And if you are that person, it's okay to be a disciple of your belief and go out and actually try to help others and preach to others and try to help them out. Now, I'm not saying that the other person has to agree. There's plenty of other religions out there. I'm not a hater. I think that as long as, like you said, what's the one rule? Don't kill each other.
Yeah.
Like, this is be nice to each other.
Don't be a dickhead and don't kill people.
Yeah, it's like, but it's funny. It's like, we look at this other society and it's like, they want that craziness. They want the corruption.
Well, that's the energy that they feed off of. They feed off of the dark energy. Whereas the person that I just explained, they feed off of light. And they truly live that, man. It's not... This is why you can't dismiss religion. Because if a person has the ability to operate in nothing but light, religion is going to really, really help them excel. Because they're not going to be able to pick out the evilness that's coming at them most of the time. They just operate above it. You know what I mean? So,
yeah.
I mean, they're almost untouchable to it unless it physically touches them. You know, I mean, you have people that are so happy and so cheerful at all times and so full of joy. You walk up to them and tell them to fuck off. It wouldn't mess with them. You know, it's all about the vibration that you operate on. You know, but
We talked a lot about vibration. Vibration's a real thing too. Energy, and people have to understand that. I think that it's all connected. There's a weave of vibration, energy, spiritual energy, religion. It all to me, it all comes down to. Tell me how you can make sense if somebody comes into a store, somebody comes to see you. How long does it take you to know something's off?
yeah,
Something's off. Like if you saw something like, something's not right.
yeah, and they, you know, and they don't even have to say anything.
Nope, don't have to say a word.
It's just a presence that they bring in.
So why is it that everybody listening to this can say, I guarantee you just said, yeah, now that's happened.
But
Yeah,
they
that's happened.
Don't practice it.
Yeah, but then all of a sudden they're just like, but they're quick to dismiss it. Like, well, it could have been a coincidence. It's a coincidence that everybody listening just went, yeah. Nah, it's not a coincidence.
Well, and that's
it's
what being
truth.
awake and aware is. And I seriously believe that the world's consciousness is waking up. It's getting high, you know, it's getting a little bit higher on the vibrational scale. I see it every day. You know, people are talking about what we're talking about that wouldn't have been talking about this stuff a year ago. So it's coming to light more. People are, you know, waking up, but we need rapid fire. You know what I mean? Not just passive conversations with really no validity. We need people that know what they're talking about, know what they want their country to look like, and have other people that are right there next to them to help them do that.
So what was,
And, you know,
what was proof to that as of recently, to what you just said? Okay. Well, let's get into current events to prove your fact. There was a song that came out, right? And you know what I'm talking about.
and it vibed with everybody.
All of a sudden, #1 on the Billboard. It's not a coincidence. How does everybody look at that when I can't remember Oliver, I can't remember his last name,
Yeah.
but Rich Man of Richmond, right?
Mhm.
Or north of Richmond. And it was one of those where it's like all of a sudden the world, or at least the United States and the world that we live in, all of a sudden we're all like, huh.
Dude, TikToks with that song were so diverse and so like taken in and agreed with in every culture. There was this it was a video of people listening to it on different podcasts, and they were all different types. And they were all agreeing with it. People were crying, you know what I mean? And it's so crazy how when you can get a message out that it doesn't matter who it comes from, where it comes from. It just matters that we can all go, yes, eggs fucking exactly. Yes, we get it. That's how we feel. All the way on the other side of the world, a different country, different government, different, you know, culture, different way of life. They were all saying the same thing. People are feeling this worldwide. This isn't just our country. This is fucking worldwide. And people are waking up to their government's corruption, to their local corruption, to the corruption in their movies, in their music. And they're walking away from this shit big time.
Well, music is the #1 influencer in most people's lives, whether they realize it or not. I think of it, yeah. I think a lot of it, like we were talking about vibrations and frequencies.
Time to go down the rabbit hole on music.
Well, to give a good example, okay, I'm gonna throw out two of them. One, well, didn't John Lennon get killed? Am I crazy here? So
How many of them have been killed?
So where did he go wrong? What's that saying that he always? I loved it. It was my teacher said, "What do I want to be when I grow up?" And I put the word happy, and she said, "That's not. You're missing the point." And he goes, "No, you're missing the point."
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that positivity, that good, that really good outstressed mind, and then he starts talking about stuff that he shouldn't be talking about, and he gets killed. But people were going to
He
listen.
said a lot of stuff back then that nobody had ever really said,
considered
out loud.
And then I start thinking, so I think about that, and then I move on, and I remember, I don't think I was in high school anymore. I think it was a couple years afterwards, and they said 100 most powerful people or and and it could be quotations or influential people. What is more powerful, being an influencer or having the money? Well, both is definitely scary, but the influence. And one of the people that got on that list, and I think she might have been number one at the time. Out of the top 10, I think 6 of them were singers. Put that into perspective, and I think Taylor Swift was like number one. So to say music doesn't have an influence on your lives, well, if they're the most influential people in the world, yeah. And that's not just America. Again, that's the world. So if you have somebody like that comes out and they say, well, this is what I feel. This is how I believe. Well, if they don't agree with this over here, they know they have to take care of that problem. To them, that's a big problem.
So, music. Let's talk about that for a second. How many songs have you been casually listening to, and then you just felt a certain way?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How many times has a song come on about drinking beer, and you're like, man, cold beer right now, fucking great. How many times have you heard Tom Petty's Roll Another Joint?
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, fuck.
That'd be nice.
It'd be like, it's a perfect day for it. Man, I'm just chilling in the garage. Fucking, like it.
Why not? Why not?
They're fucking spells. They're spells. You sing them, you repeat them over and over and over. Look at a song and look at how much it doesn't say, but it makes you feel a certain way. And it repeats it over and over and over, and it makes you feel good while you're doing it. There was a video, come across this probably 6-7 months ago, and it was one of the, I think it was a recording studio in California. And the guy was talking about back in the late 60s, early 70s, whenever satanic cults were kind of almost like a fucking trend. All like the young, the young artists and stuff were into it, because for them, it was a way to really go against their parents. A lot of these artists and stuff, they had really religious parents. They had parents in the military. Charles Manson. That's another rabbit hole we can go down and say that he was made to do what he did. But anyways, he said there was a group, and I think it was the Eagles. Whenever they would cut an original, they had built a special room in this studio where they would go in there and put like trances on it, and fucking spells on it. It had to be a full moon. Yeah, and it had this weird thing in the fucking roof and stuff where like the moon would come through at a certain time, and then they would go ahead and finish that and then put it out, and that was their way of spellbinding people with their music. Listen to Hotel California.
Mm-hmm.
That's a crazy fucking song.
Well, I also look at, and I don't want to be, what's the word, genre specific, okay? Because, rock, you can see it a lot in rock and roll. But also,
rap.
Well, let's get into that one in general. Like now, we know a lot of how that stuff works in today's world. But let's talk about the control it has, the actual music. And I want people to understand. I'm not trying to subjugate. I'm just trying to explain it. And sometimes it's easier to make it plain Jane. Not all rap is about bang bang shoot shoot,
right,
kill rape, all that, and stuff like that. I got 40 bitches and I'm drinking a 40 and stuff like that. It's not all like that. And
that's
mainstream.
Yeah, that's what's really corrupting.
So you have children in poverty, and not only do they hear this type of music, but what else is that music telling them? I'm the top dog. I'm the top. I'm the one at the top. I have the power.
When you have nothing,
I'm the man because I did this.
Mm-hmm.
And so it implants this weird thing that it's like, oh, so if I do that, I'm the man of power. I'm the person of power, of interest. And those people that's called the trap life. You're influencing them to go down a bad road. Think about how, I hate to say it, even in this town, I go to a grocery store and I'm looking at how people dress. Now, I don't care how you dress per se.
Yeah.
But if it looks like a duck and it quacks like a duck, it's probably a duck. If you want to look like a gangbanger, if you want to act like that, if you want to do that, I'm not saying it's bad, but the way you carry yourself and then the vibe you give off because you've been so influenced by this type of music, that vibe and it carries. We were just talking about that. It ain't just the way you look, but now you have that vibration too. That's the persona you want to give off. Well, how are you want to be treated then?
Well, but that's how powerful that stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't believe any human is born corrupt. I don't believe any human is born with a lack of morals. I think if you're a human with a soul, you are born with a certain feeling in you that you know what's right and wrong. And that it goes with anything in your life. You can't tell me that someone is just born to fucking do stupid shit. You know what I mean?
Oh,
there are dumb people out there, but it's because they didn't get to progress in life, right? And I think a lot of this music is targeted to keep people down in this lower level vibration. It keeps them from growing. It keeps them from expanding into what they're really capable of. And if it starts early enough and continues, you get some really fucked up people. And I don't think it's all of the music's fault, but there are some songs when you listen to, you're like,
did a line of coke and drugs and stuff, and then somebody goes and tries it because they think it's cool, and then they just change the whole course of their life.
Yeah, and there are some people that have such shit lives, such shit feeling towards life that it doesn't take much for them to become an addict. And when you got music that's fucking glamorizing and stuff, it just makes it even worse. But look at this one. So what else in the world can take a mom that's wiping the counter down in her kitchen while her kids are over there eating a bowl of cereal? What else in the world can make a woman bounce her ass at 7:30 in the morning besides a rap song about bouncing your ass? There's nothing else in this world that's going to fucking do that.
And I mean,
her husband couldn't walk up to her at 7:30 in the fucking morning and be like, yeah, bounce that ass up and down. No, you turn on a song that she's used to bouncing her ass to, that she thinks.
And to be fair, it doesn't have to be rock. It can be pop.
Dude,
I mean, it's things like Taylor. Remember Taylor Swift? She made "Shake It Off," right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a
you
pop
got
song.
Little girls doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But that's not as bad as a song like WAP.
Oh yeah, exactly. That
you've got little girls that sing that fucking song, and yeah, it's their parents' fault for letting them have access to it.
Yeah.
But that little girl is being built into something that it's not going to be beneficial to her or the fucking world, what she's going to be built into. And hopefully she gets put into situations and, builds an education and sees that, man, these type of people don't make it where I want to go in life.
So I'm going to put out two more caveats to this. One, so like Three Doors Down was in town, right? I didn't get to go to the concert, but the first thing a friend told me was, they actually were kind of religious. He just wanted to tell everybody thank you and God bless you and stuff like that during their time frame. There's been a couple bands like that throughout the years. And I've noticed that when they do make those conscious decisions where you don't know quite why they just all of a sudden went religion. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Makes you wonder who approached them. Where they're like, oh man, scary.
Right.
But when's the last time that you heard good Three Doors Down song on the radio per se.
That's been years.
Years. Well, I wonder
Yeah.
why. It makes you. That was my first thing.
Yeah.
Is like, oh well, they got canceled, not by us. They got canceled. Used to they would play all the time.
Well, there's been multiple DJs over the years. Their quitting voice recording has been, leaked and stuff like that. And there's been more than once where they were told to never say Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
They were told to never pray, and they were told to never ask anybody if they were religious. You don't talk about it, basically. But you definitely never say Jesus. And this chick quit over that. She's like, I'm not,
That's a weird rule.
Yeah.
That's a really
It's
weird,
odd.
weird rule.
Out of all the words in the world, you can say shit, fuck.
Yeah, but
Don't you dare say Jesus.
And then let's talk about Christian music in general. Who's the last Christian musician that you know that are cajillionaires? Now,
Actual Christian musician or just
I'm
pretty boy
talking actual
mainstream?
Christian musician.
Well, I mean, I guess
I'm
Creed
sure
was,
there's-
right. Wasn't Creed like a
I think they're right in
Christian
that mix.
band, and then they
right.
kind of converted
Yeah.
or whatever? But
So when you think about that too, you go, okay, well these
Josh
people,
Groban,
Yeah.
I don't know if
It's
he
like-
is.
I'm sure they're making some money, but it's funny is like you never hear any publication of them. Does the media focus on them at all? Do they focus on any massive star like that? Do they? And it's like I get that it is religion, so they don't necessarily want to just subjugate to one genre itself. But it does make you wonder just a little bit, like how is there not? I've heard on K-Love people that sound like Adele. I mean,
Yeah.
probably sing better than her.
Yeah.
And it's one of those where it's like, and you're going to tell, and it's not that I have anything against Adele. I'm just saying, it's like,
Well, dude, it just goes back to we know what you have to do to be famous in the
Mhm.
actual mainstream music business.
that's,
You've got to fucking sell your soul one way or another, and there's multiple avenues that they get your soul, but you don't really get anywhere without doing a little bit of gay stuff, doing a little bit of raping a baby stuff.
making
doing
yourself blackmailable. I mean,
That,
they're going to
you
record
know,
you. They're going to do
and
this.
Blackmail, exactly.
Yeah.
Right, and
That's
that's probably the main driving for all of it. But there's different acts to attain that. Sacrificing your mom, Kanye. Shit like that. So maybe some of these religious singers, they cling tight to their morals and their fucking constitution, and they turn it down. But what would be even more awesome and would make them even better is if they were ever approached and they were offered deals to do things. If that has ever happened to them, if they would come forward and just fucking say it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we've already had that happen. But
Well, one of them, like the one Christian singer I can think of that changed genres, that was Katy Perry.
yeah,
Because
right,
because she did start off as a Christian singer, and then look
And
at her.
she was this sweet little innocent little girl, dude. I remember her videos earlier. Not even her music videos, just the videos that they've posted
Mm-hmm.
with her while she was on was it The Voice or something? She's like a judge
Yeah.
on there or something now.
And then her first song was literally "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It."
Right,
That was
right.
her first song.
They turned that little girl out fast, man. But she signed some papers, made some big money, made a big huge sacrifice, and then now look at it.
Mm-hmm. Well, Lady Gaga, you hear about that? She killed her best friend. I put some allegedly.
Yeah, and then
You
have
know,
you heard of like
about-
her mentor,
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Miss Maria Abramovich or whatever?
Yeah.
She's that satanic artist
Mm-hmm.
that does stuff in blood.
Yep. Oh yeah, and that's
Spirit cooks.
Yeah.
Anybody listening, look up spirit cooking.
Mm-hmm.
Just go look it up. Go to YouTube and type
The
in
crazy
spirit
thing is,
cooking.
we'll tell you to look something up. You find it, you look at it, you go, "That's crazy." It scares you, and then
It's
you're
fucking
like,
crazy.
then you shut the door, and you're like, it's not real. But it's like, again, it's like,
And then they go look some more.
and then a little bit more. Well, man, we've hit an hour. Probably just over. That was quick.
Yeah.
It always seems like it gets going and it starts to get really good, and then time's up. But I know that we were talking about doing a continuation, maybe making a little series of some of this stuff. And I'm all for it. I enjoy it. I think it's great. I think everybody listening, it's one of those where it's like you just have to self-educate yourself. If you want to go down that rabbit hole, just hang on to your sanity. It's a fun one.
Yeah, I mean, we got a bunch here that we could really
Oh
talk
yeah,
about, but yeah.
yeah. But like always, it's a pleasure to have you on. It's a pleasure for you to be here. We hope that if you enjoyed this episode, write some comments, like, subscribe, and like I said, we're going to do it again. So we'll end it the same way we always do, man. We're going to point at the camera. Thank you so much, Brandon.
Hey, brother, you too. Appreciate it.
Who are you?